In this video, I wanted to challenge myself with a little bit of product photography at home, kind of like Brandon Woelfel's No Model Photo Challenge, since I do typically photograph humans. So hopefully this inspires you to create for your personal blog or your Etsy shop using whatever you can find laying around your home, and even by just using your iPhone or any mobile device. So to get started, I jotted down some cute items that were photographable, and then I curated different groupings and sets from my list. I really made sure to think about the aesthetic and the mood each would convey, and the mood really relied heavily on the background. And here are some styling boards I have for weddings, but I know that some of you guys probably don't have one. So I did keep it simple with a white canvas that I created in a past video, and you can honestly use a white poster board or a white pillowcase for the same effect. For this first product photo, I decided to use the Alabaster Book of Isaiah. Basically, it's a magazine of beautiful visuals from the book of the Bible, and this was inspired by Kayla Mendez. She's a fellow Filipino who emphasizes women of color in jewelry shots, and I really just loved how she utilized lighting and shadows, and I did something similar at a wedding recently. But the main element here, as you can see, are sunspots, shadows, and glass refractions. So for this photo, I wanted to make sure that the book was the center point of everything, so I just kind of framed the flowers and the glass around it. And to add some texture, I did add some earrings. And this edit is a little bit more, I guess, moodier than usual, but I think it fits the theme. Also, I did want you to be aware that Instagram will crop any pictures you upload, so if you want to go ahead and crop it 4x5 so that you can frame it correctly. To have great product photos, you really don't have to change a lot, like right here. It's actually best to keep your aesthetic similar throughout a brand, or at least a season or a campaign, so that your audience recognizes you. Here, we're still using the Alabaster book, but I try to also look inside the book for some other possible backdrops. And you can totally do that too. Maybe you can look at your favorite magazine clippings, a page from a book, or even a newspaper to add some texture. So right here we are going to get a little technical. Here I do have the bag a little bit more exposed because of the sun speckles, and that is something you need to be wary of just because the sun does change. But the second shot is a little bit better, but the earrings are honestly still in the shadow. If they're the main focus, I should have used a flashlight to light them up. That's a little trick that wedding photographers use for wedding rings. This next product photo was inspired by Julia Berolzheimer, if that's how you say it, but most importantly, Allegra Rose B. I am obsessed with her. I love how she uses her environment and colorful pieces from her home to make any image pop and look so happy. Using things around you, especially seasonal elements like snow and in this case blossoms, helps your product photo stay relevant on social media. My first photos were a little bit more muted and minimal, but if you follow me on Instagram, you know I love color. Colors are so important in making an image pop and look more cohesive, especially if you're using your brand colors. Here I am using orange, pink, and yellow, which are called warm analogous colors. That might be wrong, but I think I'm right. Basically, they sit next to each other in the color wheel. There's also monochromatic color schemes, complementary, tertiary, binary, if you want to look those up for inspiration. So we've used a magazine and clothing for some product photos, but here's another one with accessories if you sell jewelry, hair clips, or all of the above. I was looking back at these and they kind of have an Aspen Ovard Luca and gray vibe, and I'm not hating it. For these, you can see I am using an alternating back and forth with the bowls, the clips, and the oranges to form a little pleasing pattern to the eye. And throughout this whole experiment, I did try to use different textures for interest just so that it didn't look so flat. And one thing I didn't get to use was my macro lens extender, which I talked about in another video. Basically, it helps you get super close up to a product to show more of its texture. Okie dokie, so I did save the most fun one for last, and I played a little bit with water, and we don't have a swimming pool or any aesthetic bathrooms with windows or anything like that, so I decided to fill a container and make a makeshift bathtub outside, and here's me trying to film an aesthetic clip of water, lol. So for this, I laid down white poster board underneath my tub so that the bottom of my pool will be white instead of gray concrete. I wanted to portray a relaxing spa for this one, even though I have nothing spa related at all, so bear with me guys. I used an earring rack as my spa lap table thing. And I also had no fancy soap, but this would be perfect for fancy soap, especially if it's orange infused or something. It was definitely getting darker as the sun was already starting to set. I think that's really one thing that you need to keep in mind when you are trying to photograph consistent brand photos. It might be best to do this inside in a controlled environment like a studio so that you can make sure your lighting is even throughout, because the weather and clouds will for sure interfere. Okay y'all, this looks like a really peaceful spa retreat right now. But instead of being a smart person and swishing the water around with my hand because I wanted to do an effect, I decided to kick the bucket, lol, and everything ended up crashing down and it low-key looks like the Titanic. But guys, I'm so glad I got the shots, and if you guys want to keep leveling up your brand through photography, go ahead and watch my other videos right here, and I'll see you next time.